Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this is the finale
Yes.
of Xenogears. This
One way or
is
the other. This is ending.
Yep. This is wow, what a ride. We thank you for coming along. I am Bo,
I am Don.
and we are your hosts of the official Xenogears podcast. Square Enix has paid us a hefty sum to remind you that 22 years ago, the greatest biblical illusion mecha game ever was released. They haven't paid us a dime. But we do want to mention our sponsor, Ashley Luann K. Once again, she can be found on Instagram. That link will be in the description of this video podcast, whichever. It won't be in bootleg, so please pay for your podcasts. And but again, she excellent resource. Again, my wife is a nurse of 5 years. She looks at her Instagram. Fantastic resource. Please check her out. And speaking of checking out, let's check out the end of an extremely emotional thing. And Don, are we in for a happy ending?
I guess that depends. I thought it was an okay ending. I thought it was okay.
Let's find out.
Anyway, yeah. So let's just go ahead and recap because a lot of things happened really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of people turned into mutants because of Satan.
Emperor Cain was murdered by the Deep State.
Yes.
The Deep State finally got what it wanted, people, and I find it disgusting that Ramses did the bidding of the Deep State and pandering at its worst. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
He wore a mask while he did it too.
No, that was Cain who wore the mask. He was the Deep State. He was the
I thought Gazelle Ministry would be the perfect illustration for the Deep State.
The thing is, Cain was the guy gumming up the works of the good Christians who wanted to resurrect God. He cared about humans. Emperor Cain is like he's FBI agent James Comey.
Is there a allegorical symbol for Abel in this game? I can't remember.
Faye. I mean, he was able.
Able to whoop some butt, I'll tell you what.
But yeah, Emperor Cain, he was getting too liberal, so he had to be killed. And then immediately they set off the geisha key, which turned everyone into mutants.
Oh, nearly everyone.
Nearly everyone. They're still humans. But then God, you defeat God. You defeat God's old body. Then you fight
a portion of God's old body, correct? Yeah.
Then Ellie turns into Miang.
Gets absorbed into the new body.
Yep. And then Faye finds out that his mom was also Miang. Also, Ramses knew her.
He also finds out that he's the ancestor of the only survivor of the crash of the Eldritch.
Yes.
And that he saw Deus before the crash.
The Zohar, which is kind of a separate thing.
That's right. That gets complicated.
He interacted with the wave existence, which is trapped like a Pokemon inside Zohar.
Right.
And wants to return to its home dimension.
And but Deus reacted to the Zohar meeting Faye, and that's why Deus appears as his mother, correct?
That's why Ellie was created, I think, as like the manifestation of the mother. But it's why the Deus biocomputer that was.
So there's an Oedipus thing going on as well as all the other stuff.
A bit, a little bit of that. But then again, at the same time, we're all descended from that one purple-haired woman. Who was a distinct thing from the antitype, which is Ellie. But at the same time, also the mother of all humanity. So, yeah, whatever.
No, it's not Lilith.
No, it's anime.
If you know what, the Council of Nicaea already decided that there is no Lilith. So shut up.
Yeah, we're Catholics.
That's
heresy. Anyway, so Krellian and Ellie go into Deus, as we said, and. God's new ride that Krellian built starts destroying the world.
The new whip.
Yep. You fight Groff for the final time. You realize that Groff is your past self who just didn't go away. And he's also...
Groff manifested within your dad.
Yeah,
too,
he's possessing your dad. He's like a spirit that just possesses people. But your dad can occasionally get the better of him, which is why he shows up as wise man. And you find out that your mom was only evil because she was possessed by Miang, who lives in all women. And
which Id didn't want to believe.
Yes.
Id was just like, no, she was a monster. You weren't there.
Yes, but then like he remembers that at the very end when she sacrifices herself, which either... I'm not sure if that was Miang saying, oh, Faye is important, or Faye could be important, and then Karen weights it in favor of sacrifice. But either way, she comes back at the end, and that's what triggers Id to rejoining with the rest of Faye's personality.
The coward.
Yes.
I believe we decided the coward was the ego.
Yes.
And Faye is the super ego with Id.
Yeah.
Guess which one Id is.
Yes.
I just get the idea of Tetsuya Takahashi and Saga Soria like writing out this stuff. They're like, okay, so we got the coward, that'll be the ego. Faye will be the super ego. Then like, what should we call the Id? And they're like, oh, it's like 2:00 in the morning. They've had enough coffee. They're like, just call him Id. Like, throw it in the game.
And then Bart takes the super dimensional Omni Gear and surfs a battleship with ICBMs.
It's like the most Bart thing ever.
To destroy God's Ark.
He's got a hat with straws coming down with the Bartweisers in it.
And the plan works, but then God gets really, really, really mad. And now he's trying to terraform the planet into something that will kill all humanity in vengeance, but prior to it presumably finding another way off the planet.
Ring a ding ding, make the earth swing. So
that's where we are. We were hanging out like in the ruins of Shavat, where all humans are congregating for the final stand.
We forgot the most important thing. Faye scored, bro.
Oh yeah,
that
he
also
did.
Happened.
That was a while back before Ellie was Miang.
It was really awkward and not very well written. But yes, that is a thing that happened. But anyway, here we are.
To be fair, every one of our party, including Choo Choo, was saying, "Go get some."
And that was big of Choo Choo.
Yeah.
That was big of Choo Choo to concede defeat there.
Yeah.
They Choo deserve each other.
Yeah. So after being on rails pretty much the entirety of Disc 2, we now have access to the world map.
With an airship and
yep.
You could go back to Kislev and fight in the tournament, can't you? At this
there
point?
are still people in Kislev. They're like, "Hey, the world is ending.
It's kind of
welcome to the match."
No, it's like Spira in Final Fantasy X. Like, hey, this world is under constant oppression of this wave monster, but you know what? Blitzball, bro.
Yeah.
So,
we're here at Evo. Or have you ever seen that Remain Indoors skit from I don't even remember what show it was. It's a British show. It's a quiz show that takes place after a kind of a hazy apocalypse, and the guy is like, "Remember, everyone, remain indoors." Now, before the event, there were pets. Other than cat, what was the most common pet available? And then there's the contestants. There's one guy who can't speak because of the event. There's one guy who can't see because of the event and has no memory of the event because he's suppressing it. And there's a woman who is crazy because of the event, and she says, "Was it chicken?" I don't know what you're talking about, man. There's no records of any chickens. We believe this may be related to the event. Lock your doors so they don't get in. It's like that.
Right.
It's an apocalypse. Everyone's just kind of coping by doing giant robot battles in Kislev.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few interesting things you can check out. You can go back to the wise man's house and say hi.
In the cave?
Yeah, I think no, he's living in the Yoda hut.
Oh, okay.
Balthazar is probably still around, but he doesn't have any speaking lines anymore. So. He will give you a trinket that's probably really useful, and then he'll say, "Goodbye, I have no speaking lines. Good luck." And then you can go to a lighthouse that has an elevator that takes you down into some Zeboim ruins.
Oh, yes.
And it's just New York City, pristine and empty of people, just like Republicans want it to be. It's their platonic ideal of a city with no people, just skyscrapers with presumably very industrious, wealthy people doing what needs to be done.
It's all madmen.
Yep, it's all madmen. None of those lousy workers who don't do anything.
Wouldn't fly in the corporate world, man.
Nope.
But there's something really cool happens in these ruins. I remember the ruins.
Yeah, you find Big Joe. Mm-hmm. He has finally, after globe-trotting around, found his calling as a shopkeeper in ruins with no one else around. But he's got a hell of a PA system. He got the copyrights to the flight theme, which is just blaring out of his speakers the whole time, which makes this the perfect in-game shop because you're going to be coming back here a lot after grinding.
Right, because this is where all the good stuff is.
Yeah, and I actually looked up Big Joe's backstory, which isn't actually told to you in the game. It's told to you in some kind of Japanese pamphlet.
For real?
Yeah, apparently well, we know he's a wrestling champion. We know he's the coolest guy around, but did you know that he is actually from Zebulon?
Really?
He is 36 years old, which makes him, 36 plus a few 4,000 years.
Right.
He was like the coolest guy in Zebulon, and he was attempting all kinds of ways to extend his life because most people in Zebulon died by 30, which was why that genetic damage that Faye and Ellie were trying to fix way back when was such a big deal.
Right.
And he was part of those experiments, and he also attempted cryogenics to preserve his life, but something went wrong, and he got fried. Not fried. He got fried. He became Fry from that
Here's
popular...
to another lousy millennium.
Yeah, he's got a dog by a pizza place right now, but...
Oh, now I'm sad.
Yeah.
Now I'm really sad.
Anyway, people forever, like, whatever happened to Zebulon happens, and he gets forgotten. So his little capsule winds up getting flooded and flushed into the ocean and starts floating, and he wakes up, like, on a continent in a strange new world. He's the only guy around with green hair, and he's like, wow, this world sucks. It needs a star. It needs a hero. Which is why he's always hanging around bringing joy to your life. Because that's just the kind of guy he is.
Because life's a gift, Don, and he understands that better than any of us do. like, first off, the green hair is like a dead giveaway. Like, we should have got it there. But, like, God, and I mean this. I'm not being ironic at all. God bless Tetsuya Takahashi. Like, God bless him. That is incredible that he's like, you know what? I feel like people need to understand where this NPC came from. And he published a pamphlet in Japan.
Our Lord and Savior, Big Joe. He and now he's found his way back home, and he's going to help you by selling drugs, pretty much. Selling combat enhancers, rather. Also, you find a bunch of documents, like film reels of Zebulon history, and since Faye now has all of his memories from the past 10,000 years, he is just kind of like narrating, okay, so we're in Zebulon. This city was part of a like a 20th century America analog. You can see here in the background of this prime minister who was in charge here. You can see that woman there. She's Miang. Yeah, you know where this is going.
Oh, it's like
always there, always around.
It's like the Assassin's Creed thing, when like Assassin's Creed used to try to be cool, and you had all those documents you could find, and like it shows the artifacts in different paintings and portraits throughout history. But then Assassin's Creed just gave up on that. They're like, you know what? We're just that game that comes out every year and sucks.
Yeah, Miang decided that these humans who can't live more than 30 years are not adequate specimens, so she's going to purge the weak and keep only the humans that are not genetically damaged, which is why there's a nuclear war, which wipes out the Zebulon. You also see schematics of gears that the Zebulon were excavating and starting to build themselves. You see fighter jets, which are cool.
So all the gears came from the Eldritch.
The Eldritch, yeah. Like some of the gears might be like put together from parts of them,
but
or based on them. But most gears are just going to be like Evo suits, basically.
Right.
They had like a functional working class purpose.
Right.
And as Faye's memories come flooding back, you also find a way for Faye remembers his time with Ellie in this time, and they score.
The Ellie and Faye from that time?
Yeah. They go they go on a date, they go on a classy date, and Faye is actually like the smart one in this. Like he's like the high class doctor who's trying to save humanity. But the world just keeps voting for people who don't believe global warming exists. And he's very, very angry. And Ellie's trying to calm him down. Then like, oh, you know, I can't have children because of the genetic damage. And like, oh, so no kids, huh? Next scene. Them banging. And then they start talking about how the only way they could have a daughter is to fix humanity in a different way, which is where the nanomachine colony comes in. A new form of humanity. And that's where Emeralda comes in. And this flashback of memories triggers something in Emeralda where she finally recognizes that Faye is not Kim, but kind of is. Like the Kim she knew is gone, but she's still okay. Like she's okay with that, and she undergoes nanomachine colony puberty, reformats herself, and now she is an adult. And she's just and she's more powerful and more mature.
Big stat boost.
Yep. Might be something
you don't have to do this, by the way. This is not required.
This is completely optional. Yeah. And after that, if you put enough pieces of the puzzle together, because remember how that music box in Saiten's house.
Finally, we're getting an answer 80 hours later.
Yeah, this is even more optional because there's no reason to go to it. If you this triggered something in Faye. We know Faye was in Zebulon. We know this music box came from an excavation. Let's go investigate.
Was Zebulon like the first major civilization? Is that the narrative?
Probably not the first major one, but it was the closest advanced one.
Okay.
Technically, Solaris would probably be presumably Solaris was always around.
Right.
Just flying around. Maybe Shavad as well. I don't know, but the Zebulon was the first big land dweller civilization that actually did things that Solaris was interested in. Anyway, you go back to Saiten's house and you find that music box, and then Faye will check the side of it instinctively, and it will say, "For our daughter," and there's some meaningless date that only Faye would understand because it's a Zebulon date. It's a birthday present. It's a birthday present for Emeralda.
That's sweet.
From 4,000 years ago, and that's why it sparked that memory in Faye.
And presumably, Saiten had some instinctual knowledge that this would spark something in Faye.
Yeah. He knew something.
Are we emphatically told that Saiten was camped out watching Faye?
Yes, that's why he was there.
Yeah, that's why
he was in Lahan. It's also why it kind of explains why he set up shop in a place that no doctor should. But yeah. Anyway, so you can also go get an ancient treasure from Dune Man Isle, whatever. You fight some cool stuff, I guess. But, it
makes the captain happy.
It's one of those situations where, God is destroying the earth as we speak. What are we doing?
I love we've actually talked about that with that was what made Morrowind perfect, because there was no urgency in the main quest, so it made sense you'd run off and do like Oblivion. It makes no sense. You watch the Emperor die before your eyes. They hand you an amulet and say, "Find Joffrey or hell is going to swallow this world." Next thing you know, you're in the Dark Brotherhood.
Like you see
collecting breads to shove in your house.
You see Oblivion gates popping up, and you're just like, oh. Right, to-do list, I guess. Gate to hell, buy this major city.
There are so many times I purposefully, I don't fast travel in Elder. We talked about this. I don't fast travel in an Elder Scrolls game. I will walk the long way around Kvatch just to not trigger that scene. But that's kind of what's going on here. Isn't there like a big, massive dais on the world map?
It's like out of the crash site, some kind of weird crystalline structure has shown up. And it's got seraphs, those Diablos angels, like nanomachine things that are just protecting it. You have to storm that place. Again, you're just going right back to where you first confronted Krellian and all went to hell.
Right. The crash site of the Eldritch.
Yeah, so this is where you go to the end game. You fight your way through it.
It's like Avengers Endgame, but it doesn't suck.
Yeah. And Faye guesses that if we destroy Deus and the Zohar, which have been united at this point, the wave existence is probably going to try to escape. So yeah, you have to you fight, and once all that has happened, maybe we can get Ellie back, because without that system, there's no Miang, which means Ellie can come back.
Without Deus present, then and this is Faye making this assumption.
That is Faye's assumption, and it's also what the wave existence kind of promised.
But I mean, he's a man in prison. He's going to make promises.
Yeah. He's been in prison for a while.
Yep,
he's been pokeballed since before the game, since before the cutscene. Somewhere back on Earth, he got pokeballed.
Yep, I believe Xenosaga actually explains it.
Okay. So you storm Deus, and like the final boss has like a bunch of extraneous parts, and Saiten's like, okay, if we destroy these parts, the final boss might be easier. So we need to and this is actually a part I really like, because you've got all these characters that you're not going to take to the final boss fight, so you can send them off to try to take down these little parts of Deus to make the fight easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can put, like you can give Rico and Choo Choo something to do. Like this part will sap your fuel for the entirety of the fight if you don't take it out. Send Choo Choo and there's no fuel to sap.
Hey, you know.
Hey, she's useful. And
Chew gotta do what Chew gotta do.
she's ready to rumble.
Chew bad boy. And it was Krellian. I love it. Wasn't it?
Sorry? Oh, no, it was
No, it was
Maggie's
it was,
dad. Not Margie. Maria.
Maria's
Maria.
dad, yeah.
Maria.
Margie is the
Yeah.
Nissan.
Yeah, I get
lady.
I get them mixed up. But Maria and Sebzen, and like that's before she comes out and kills her dad. But yeah, it was her dad, and he was being a big Ben Shapiro about logic and reason. And then he got curb stomped by a giant Furby.
I'm going to start using that at work. You are being a big Ben Shapiro. Right? You're really Shapiroing out, bro.
So yeah, you defeat Zeus. You defeat Deus. Zeus.
Dr. Zeus.
Yeah,
Planet of the Apes.
like that was a weird generation of humanity. I would watch a Planet of the Apes where it just ties back into like a portion of the Xenogears setting. Like Solaris shows up, kills all the apes. Well, something went wrong. We can't use these to resurrect God. Why, certainly, Bright Eyes.
So,
like there's a Miang ape that just turns all purple. It's Barney the dinosaur. You've got to destroy us. This
purple Donkey Kong from Smash.
this iteration of primate is like Dr. Zayas has a cabinet. You can see here that there were humans and then there were apes, but before that there were choo-choos. This isn't Earth at all. We just built the Statue of Liberty out of some kind of instinct. I don't know. The instinct of liberty. Yeah, okay. That's a hell of a tangent, but I'm glad we did
All
it.
from a slip. I love it. I love it. Anyway, you fight Deus.
Yeah, you fight Deus, and when it goes down, Faye is like, okay, so good things are going to happen, right?
Absolutely. It stands to reason.
Hey, we killed God.
That's what the waveform said.
Yeah, and that's what Groff said I was supposed to do. So my destiny has been fulfilled. RPG logic, I get good, happy ending immediately.
And if it was Final Fantasy, he would have.
Yeah, but then, Satan says, hey, there's some kind of force building. It's actually like this is like a hell of a force. Actually, it's gonna destroy the planet,
Brother. Let me tell you, you want to talk about force?
And Faye's like, oh, wait a minute, that whole wave existence thing, that like the primordial force at the creation of all reality, it's trying to go back to its own dimension on our planet. That might have something to do with that. The wave existence didn't tell me that this would happen. I'm just going to put that out there. However, the husk of this whole system begins to levitate and fly off towards space. Where like the power
the husk being the body.
The remaining body and the Merkava, the arc.
Yeah.
The crash site. It's levitating and floating off into space.
Man.
Yeah, it's still building up the power for the dimensional rift, but it won't be doing so on the planet anymore. And Faye guesses that Ellie must somehow be controlling it so that the dimensional rift doesn't kill the few survivors on this planet. Of course, that also means that Ellie is going to sacrifice herself so that Faye can live again.
Yep. And Krellian has to just sit there and ride it out with her.
Yep. And Faye is like, oh, God, not this again.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And with the Zohar destroyed, there's no power to anyone's gears because their slave generators aren't getting their stuff anymore.
Jeez.
But, I don't have a gear. I have a Xenogear. I got a direct power boost from the Zohar and the wave existence itself, so I can still go. I have an electric vehicle in a Mad Max universe. I have a solar panel and an electric. I have a solar panel, a Tesla, and some spikes.
Witness me.
Witness me. I will raid your farms for kale. Oh, I want to found when the world ends and like there's gas shortages, we should go up to like that one big wind farm in Benton County, and like just get all the electric vehicles we can and charge from there. We'll call ourselves the Winds of Destruction. We'll crucify our enemies atop the windmills.
So long as I get to be the guitar guy.
Yes.
You give me that, Don, and I will ride the highways to Valhalla with you.
You'll never hear us coming because of all the torque. I am Mistral, the cold wind of France. Yeah, I'll dress up like a mime. I'll be Mistral from Metal Gear Revengeance. I am Mistral, the cold wind of France. Okay, serious.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, world's about to end, but then Ellie's about to sacrifice herself. Faye is like, oh, I have a Xenogear so I can still make my gear go. Mm-hmm. You have a dramatic anime moment with all your party members. Like, you bring her back and you come home. Like, Bart's like, okay, I know I can't stop you, but you have to promise me you're coming back. Saiten's like, no, she's probably dead. Like, Faye, you'll never make it. I mean, honestly, I think we've got our happy ending here.
Look. I have one of the Soylent facilities. We can survive. Let's just stay here.
Look, we can build a life, Faye, you and me. I'll leave my wife and my daughter.
But anyway,
but Bart just keeps yelling at everyone, this is not a suicide mission. Faye's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And Bart tells Saiten to keep... every time Saiten tries to interject, Bart tells him to shut up. Like, Saiten, we don't need any more plot right now. We know what's going to happen. Faye is going, and he's going to come back with Ellie. So the whole party gives their anime speech, wishing Faye luck, and he rockets off into space.
Which would have been the perfect time for flight, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Does it play?
It plays.
Excellent.
You see a giant anime gear with Faye at the helm, chasing off after a warping giant wreck of God's ship, flying off into space. Faye says to his gear, looks like we're in for one last flight together, so let's do it.
Listen, I don't like you, and you don't like me.
All right, partner, I know we didn't meet under the best of circumstances, but we're going to do this. So, after leaving the atmosphere, Faye closes in on the target, and at the very moment he seems to interact with the edge of Deus's crib, he awakens to find himself outside his gear, completely nude, and Ellie is in a bubble, also completely nude.
What's the rest of the background look like?
It's like bluey void.
So another void. Okay,
it's a blue void.
Where Kane hung out.
Yeah. So, okay, so a disembodied Krellian, his head rather.
This guy.
He is like just talking about humanity. It sucks. It's irrational, illogical. I'm going to live with God.
The ultimate Ben Shapiro moment.
No one likes me for some reason. Only my billionaire donors. And even I just killed them to resurrect God.
Oh. Big.
And Faye counters that, yeah, sure, some humans suck. Like you suck. Present company.
That's it. He just walks away.
Present company emphatically included.
I like this eloquent Faye.
But Bart and the captain exist. Your point is invalid. Goodbye.
So excuse me, Krellian, but
destroyed.
Remember the end. By the way, if you wait to the end credits, you get to see Bart and Faye crack it open a Bartweiser on Krellian's grave.
And the elemental form of Miang emerges in her serpentine gear. Apparently, she's still hanging out in the wreck of the Deus system, and she's still holding Ellie in a bubble while Krellian's just looking on. Faye hops back into his Xenogear, which is here again. And
still nude.
It's not really a final boss. It's just you beating the piss out of Miang for being an agent of anti-feminism.
This is why feminism is not harming our young boys. Bam!
Religious control of a woman's body is irrational. and wrong.
I hope. I'm sorry. I'm still just hoping he put a towel down on the seat before he got back.
Yeah.
In the Xenogear.
Like, look, I got my gear back, but I didn't get my clothes because Krellian is being an ass.
Like Curly just na boo, but he's got a face clothes.
I will admit, I would have preferred if the gear did not show back up, but Faye just became id. Like all red hair, but still buck naked, and beat the shit out of Miang in her gear. Oh my God. Step on the snake. Crush the snake beneath your heel. Tread on her. Like the Virgin Mary treaded on libertarianism. Anyway, you defeat Miang, and Ellie emerges from her bubble, and you get into like anime territory. It's anime cartoon territory.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, anime cartoon.
Okay, it's not cartoons, Dad.
Anime animation.
Yes. It's all from. It's very. It's all from chest up. Well, okay, neck, collarbone up.
Yep.
Like they're very careful about that. To their credit, they're very careful about that. She says that, and Ellie emerged, and she's like saying, Krellian actually released me. He's finally recognized that you and I actually do love each other, and we're not just like hanging out to spite him. Like, remember when Lacan and Krellian were friends 500 years ago, and he was getting increasingly jealous that Sophia liked Lacan in a way that she didn't like Krellian? Yeah, he's finally gotten over that. And she's like, look, when he kept looking, every time he tried to look back on those years, it held too many bad memories. He couldn't. He just couldn't deal with it.
He's not a bad guy.
And
he just destroyed 98% of humanity.
Like, this is all his fault. Everything in this game is his fault, pretty much.
Exactly.
Like, Emperor Cain was working against Solaris at this point.
The deep state.
Yeah, the deep state.
George Soros himself.
Yes.
Was Cain.
Yes. Yes.
And Krellian could not be bought.
So Ellie says that she wanted to sacrifice herself, but didn't. But she was being a little bit selfish because she didn't factor in how that might impact everyone else, including Faye, who did not take that so well the last time, and in fact almost became an agent of the world's destruction himself as a direct result.
Searching the power.
Yeah, and this is where Faye starts. I had to record these lines. I've been paraphrasing more than normal because the monologues aren't around.
Right.
And we know the plot at this point, but this line had to be preserved in its full integrity. Love gains its original shine only when there's an interrelationship between the giver and the receiver.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Oh, put that on a ring. That's a vow. That's a marriage vow.
That needs to be one of those Etsy signs that people buy in their house.
Yeah, they could have gone with "It takes two to tango" or "One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do." But no, love gains its original shine only when there's an interrelationship between the wave existence. Oh God, Faye, you've actually become kind of annoying now that you're smart.
Exactly. Isn't that what happens with everybody? Like your friend.
Oh, you get smart and you start using these words for no reason.
You're like your friend that takes the advanced classes in college, and suddenly that's all he talks about.
Dude, did you know America kind of sucks? You didn't? You didn't? The Banana Republic? Look, gunboat diplomacy is new to you. I'm sorry. Some of us were born with this knowledge. I'm actually 5,000 years old. The original descendant. Look, I'm actually from the Gundam universe, and that floating Statue of Liberty, it crashed on this planet. And I have full knowledge of all of America's sins, but you don't see me whining about it. Look, the world isn't perfect. We got to build towards socialism from what we have.
Oh.
So, whatever Krellian was hoping to find in all this, I understand that Krellian was looking for something. This whole game was him looking for something. The horrible mutants, the genocide, slavery, we're going to find the answer to his question, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to like have a marriage counselor or something. We'll handle this like adults. And at this point, they start running towards the point of contact. Apparently, there is the geosynchronous orbit where Kid Faye, at the beginning of the game, made contact with the wave existence. I guess. It's where the rift between this new dimension the wave existence is trying to get to and the existence we've been playing the game in hangs out. They need to get through that portal to get back to the planet. But Ellie trips and it looks like they're not going to make it, but then a naked Krellian appears and declares that he is about to hitch a ride with the wave existence. And Faye and Ellie say, hey, if you can stabilize this for a little bit longer, why don't you just come with us? And he says, yeah, dude, after all I've done, the only one who can forgive me is God. I'm hanging out with him.
That is the most like boomer biker.
Yes.
like deadbeat dad that finally shows up when he has grandkids.
Yes.
That is the most.
I can't. It's too late for me to change.
That needs to be on Facebook with the Grim Reaper thing on it.
I don't need to fix myself because I can't. So basically, once Krellian committed the first few atrocities on Krellian's resume, he realized, okay, I have to double down now. I can't stop. You can't half-ass this. If you're going to commit genocide to build God, you better succeed. Because God's the only one who's going to forgive you. It's actually quite a bit like that Himmler speech when the war was going really, really bad and everyone in Germany knew it. And there's that serious talk, maybe we've just got rid of Hitler. We could stop this. Himmler goes on the radio he has this thing on. Yeah, I know you've all heard about Stalingrad and Kursk. I know things could be going better, but if you have any thoughts about, saying it was the Nazis that did all this, you can go ahead and put those thoughts away. You're all guilty. You know what's going on. You know what we're doing. You supported us. When we killed all the Social Democrats, you were happy. This is. I mean, we're all in this together. One big happy family.
I actually didn't know that. He did that on the radio?
Yes.
I had no idea.
It was a very, very effective way of keeping the Germans in line because all of those wishy-washy centrists who just
the reasonable centrists.
The democratic socialists had it coming. Let's just say, and if we have to lose a few Roma and a few million Jews to get rid of the communists, the leftists, really it's their fault. I wouldn't have had to support the Nazis if they weren't around.
So Hitler literally just got on the radio and was like, look, we're all bad people.
Yes. Yeah. You don't just get to... I don't care if you're a party member or not. You're guilty. Krellian... Yeah, so this is Krellian's line of thinking. Dude, I can't just say I did this to try to build God. I'm a monster.
Right.
And the only happy ending for him is to go with wave existence and join it in its own dimension. And Krellian tells Faye and Ellie that this world, the world they have just saved, is theirs now, and that he envies them, so that they can go off and live with the captain and Bart and have their happy ever after. He grows angel wings and flies off with the wave existence. And the only point against this game I have is that it gives Krellian a happy ending. Because honestly, this should be the point where Ellie takes out a gun and shoots him in the back of the head. So the cutscene cuts out. Faye and Ellie are running back to the point of contact. It fades to white, and then you cut back to a cliffside where Seitan and the party are hanging out, looking on at the sky. Wave existence goes back to its home dimension.
Is it still anime?
Yeah, it's still anime. You see a big boom in the atmosphere, and Seitan runs up and yells, "Faye!" What happened? It's weird how fast I love it's the kind of anime line I love because it goes from two very dramatic different emotional states to one.
Right.
Very emotional. Deadpan. Okay, what happened? The scientist in Titan really comes back. And
is this permissible?
Yes. Do I have time to ruminate on this? So some no-name dude with a radio is like, okay, so I think reality just died in the ionosphere or something for a hot second. So give me a second. I'll give us a visual. They probably died though. I'm just gonna say it. They're dead. And Bart screams, "That's a lie. He's coming back. He promised he would."
You shut your mouth, Radar. I know he's still alive.
Yeah. Why do you get voice lines when we have an entire party? What's your name even?
Turns out it is Radar from MASH.
And Rico's just like standing there looking stoic. And you get a quick shot of Faye's gear burning through the atmosphere. Choo Choo sees it, and she starts jumping and hopping towards a cliff face to get closer. And
Choo better not die on me.
We so free. Seitan looks on with a blank face before hearing the roar, and he sees Faye and Ellie descend from the heavens. You have a quick focus on Faye and Ellie in the cockpit, clothed. They got their clothes back.
They were under the seat.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'll be dogged. Well, we're about to see everyone. Might as well get dressed.
Yeah. And like the happy music is playing. Everyone starts smiling. You get to see a close face of all your party members. They're smiling, looking up at the cliff face. The ending score begins to build as the camera pans over. And you see all the motley correction. There's some human survivors as well. Just some random guys, like a bald man with glasses. There's a young couple, a guy in a lab coat. The captain's probably too busy adventuring.
Absolutely. Because you know what? It may have been his last, so he had to do it.
Bart cries out, "Oh, yeah!" in a non-dubbed Japanese line. So it's a Japanese accent. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And Faye and Ellie park the gear off the cliff edge as the party rush to meet them, and then it goes into credits. And do you know the ending credits song? Run through the cold of the night as passion burns in your heart, ready to fight, a knife held close by your side. Like a proud wolf alone in the dark, with eyes that watch the world.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
And my name like a shadow on the face of the moon. Does this planet have a moon? I don't know. Broken
Does it still have one?
mirror, a million shades of light.
Oh, was that the name of the song, Broken Mirror?
Yes.
Yes.
The old echo fades away.
Hold up.
But just you and I can find the answer, and then we can run to the end.
You're putting this to the tune of a song, and I'm
world.
trying to figure out which one it is.
We can run to the end of the world. It might also be the small of two pieces. I don't know. There's more verses, but you get it. We run to the end of the world. It's the end of the game. God's dead. This planet is ours now. Happy ending.
Buckethead has a song called Broken Mirror.
Oh. Anyway, yeah, and that is Xenogears. It really is.
That's Xenogears.
That's the end of the game. We did it.
We had a lot of fun doing this, but I hope the fact that Don and I have nothing but the deepest respect for this game bled through that fun. This was it's kind of hard to explain because this was a project that was not supposed to happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about, it got its budget cut. They didn't get to do it right. They fought, Tatsuya Takahashi fought tooth and nail to get this done anyway. He was a big wheel in Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
So he had a feather in his cap in the company. Interesting fact, I did not know this. Interesting fact. So when production of Xenogears started, production of Final Fantasy 8 was already starting.
Mm-hmm.
7, sorry, Final Fantasy 7. And in fact, Xenogears was supposed to be 7, but it was too dark. So they said this has to be a separate project. And so we were at kind of a time when Tetsuya Nomura was making a name for himself at Squaresoft. And so, of course, Takahashi went to Hironobu Sakaguchi, who was a big wig at this time. He of course, the last game he directly directed was Final Fantasy V. And so he was a businessman now, and he was making assignments because this was the 90s in video game design, which was nothing. Today it's like a Hollywood production.
Yeah.
In the 90s it was still like they had a chalkboard. You're working on this game. So, but anyway, Tetsuya Takahashi really wanted Nomura for this game. Really wanted him to do the character design. Loved the guy. They got along great. They were both young, both very creative types. And everyone loved Tetsuya Nomura's ideas. He was the kid that did debugging, that came to the meeting with notes and took up time, but they still loved him. Anyway, Nomura did do some preliminary character designs for Xenogears. None of them actually made it into the game, except it was his idea to make the main character an Asian man who knew martial arts.
Okay.
That actually made it into the game. Anyway, Takahashi wanted him, but so did Final Fantasy team. The Final Fantasy team, of course, got Nomura. But Takahashi left Squaresoft after Xenogears, of course, Monolith Soft, things like that. He worked for Bandai Namco. And he always said he wanted Nomura to do character design for him. He's like, I never forgot how much his character designs hit me. Finally got him. I never knew this. He finally got him to work on one of his games. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Nomura actually designed the bad guys.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of that's sort of an interesting history there. Xenogears is one of the most interesting behind-the-scenes game stories you'll ever read. Not only is the game itself brilliant, but the behind the scenes, there was like they can make a movie about the production of Xenogears. Tetsuya Takahashi and Sora Sagia, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. They were married. They're married.
Okay.
The people who wrote the story to this game.
That's nice.
Faye and Ellie. Faye and Ellie.
Yeah.
But could Xenogears have been so much more? Absolutely. But, I think what he did with what he had, and not to reduce this to one man, what this team did with what they had, absolutely incredible. It is I don't think I'm overstepping myself when I say it is the most avant-garde game of the 90s. Period.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of people's criticism of it was it basically robbed Evangelion. Anno Hideaki has emphatically stated that the biblical allusions in Xenogears are because he thought they were cool.
Yeah.
They had no deeper meaning. All the deeper meaning we're assigning to it, we did that.
Yeah.
We did that. The cross explosions.
It's like when an American who has no connection with Asia starts using Asian deities because he thinks they're cool.
Precisely. That is exactly the reason Lilith is crucified.
Yeah.
Because Anno thought it looked cool. Takahashi is clearly going deep with these biblical allegories. In fact, I spent an hour the other night researching exactly what it meant that the Animus Relics were the 12 tribes of Israel. Really interesting theories going on there. Also interesting, according to the Bible, the 12 tribes of Israel, 10 of them were lost to history. Only 2 survived, Judah and Levi.
We got to dig them up.
It was the diaspora after the Syrian conquest. But absolutely, I remember a kid in junior high when we were all playing through because it came out when we were in grade school. But let's face it,
yeah,
none of us got it. So we played it again in junior high, and I knew a kid that literally had a Bible full of bookmarks, figuring out. Like his mom was so happy, but he was literally trying to figure out Xenogears. But guys, everything Monolith Soft has done, the whole Xeno series. The only ones I have not played at all are the 3 Xenosaga games, but I'm sure I'm missing out. I'm 100% sure I'm missing out. Guys, if we get sub goal. No, I'll play through them on camera. I mean it. Adam, stop laughing. This is business, all right? When you're ready to be a big boy and do a real podcast, show back up here. Me and Don are trying to do bit. Anyway, 1,000 downloads, 1,000 more downloads on our podcast. If we hit 1,000 more downloads, I will play through the Xenosaga. What?
The specific one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This specific one. Give us 1,000 likes. I will play 1 through 3 of Xenosaga on camera for you guys. It'll be a good reason to quit my job. Please make this happen. Don, final thoughts on this masterpiece.
It's not the best pace, but you know exactly why that is. Because there are parts where the budget was obviously there and there obviously wasn't. It really hits like the same. It's very clearly in my niche.
Absolutely.
Like there's an element of fun where you're playing the game like, oh wow, is this game falling apart, or is this like, it's like you're walking through a ruin that's still beautiful.
You're in Zebulon.
Yes,
you're in Zebulon.
That's the game. It's kind of like there's like some of it works, some of it is obviously was not completed. Some of it is kind of coming apart, but it's still working. It's still working. The battling system is fun.
Oh, it's fun.
A very fun game.
It's fun. As far as JRPGs go from the 90s, it is one of the best. It is easily one of the best.
And all the crazy stuff, all the crazy things you keep hearing about, it makes sense at the end.
It all comes together. They don't leave you hanging.
It doesn't
really
disappear up somebody's butt. It's just it all comes back and ties together.
Which is another thing that differentiates it from Evangelion, in my opinion. There are many things in Evangelion we just don't have an answer for because the point of it was to be up for debate.
Now, admittedly, we experienced this game when we were young. We were impressionable.
Yes,
we hadn't seen a whole lot of humanity's creative spirit, so obviously it's going to have a big effect on us. But it's a good. Fun thing.
But thank God it was one of our first exposures
to
humanity's creatives because it stands. I really think it does.
Like, and, you can tell when somebody has a project they're passionate about and one that they're just trying to get through and trying to get done with. This is obviously the former.
This is absolutely, and it's just another one of those things where. I'm not the first one to say this. A lot of people say this. The 1990s in Japan was the Wild West of video games. They were willing to take risks, and it is a shame if this were a just world, Xenogears HD would be a thing. If this were a just world, absolutely. I can't recommend it enough. I know we spoiled it for you, but we didn't. We really didn't. I mean,
you get a gear very early on. You get to play with it. You get to punch a dinosaur with it. Save your girlfriend from a dinosaur by punching it with a giant robot.
And it's just all the things we told you to experience it by playing it firsthand. It will be different. You can know what's coming, and it still will emotionally impact you. It's just a great game.
Like the reason we had to do this podcast over a series of more than 10.
Is this episode 12?
12, 13. Yeah.
Oh wow, we ended on 13. That's wicked.
Yeah. It's like the writing staff throws a bunch of plot at you from different points of view, from different points in time throughout the game. So it's like, and there's that thing in fiction where you don't want your audience to arrive at an obvious conclusion before the main character. Like in a detective novel, you like fair play is like a thing,
right?
Like oh well, you have to be able to figure out who the murderer is, but with this, like you do know more than the player, but you're still lacking something, so you don't know where the game's going, and you're still always, at least on some level, learning alongside Faye what's going on. You're putting more pieces together because you've seen the opening cutscene, nobody else has.
And remember in episode 1 we mentioned how important that is, that you see the entire saga of the Eldritch. You know as much as the people on the Eldritch knew by the time you play this game, and I think it's beautiful that you're playing in an RPG and you'll get 70 hours into this RPG never knowing why the opening cutscene is a spaceship crashing. I think that's just brilliant.
And then
you
get pretty early in the game when Bart and Faye first meet up. One of the first things they see is that arrangement of skulls where humans just kind of show up on this planet.
And it's just it's so nuanced. It's so like no one's like, looky here, what does this mean? It's just a little thing you see on a shelf in an old guy's house.
It's like a curiosity. It's like background element, but it clicks with that opening cutscene immediately if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just
at all.
It's I think what we're trying to tell you is this is the thinking man's RPG.
Yep.
They
like there's no point where you're like, oh come on guys, they're obviously planning to use the geisha key to expedite the core competencies of the anti-type, but they are interfering with him.
And it's And another thing is the clues you get in this game never feel cheap. All these proper nouns, never feel cheap. It always, because the game does really good if it really makes you feel like there's going to be something at the end of this that pays off, and it does.
There's walrus pirates, there's sand pirates, there's gladiators, wacky hijinks. You can call yourself you can give yourself a cool kung fu fighting name like the Dragon Slaying Slacker or the Punching Love Man or whatever. I don't know.
And
you can get fat, you can get drunk, you can breathe fire.
I think what we're all agreed on, the most important element of this game, Big Joe.
Big Joe.
Big Joe.
Elvis impersonator from beyond time.
From beyond time, baby.
I guess all that's left to say is run to the end of the world.
Run to the
end of the world.
So this concludes the longest series that Donram has ever done so far. Give this 1,000 likes. Get us to 1,000 likes, and I will quit my job and play Xenogears, Xenosaga 1 through 3, and we'll be able to give you. We'll be able to give you.
You can get me pumped.
Another saga just like this. So at the end, we of course have joined Rally Networks, the Rally Network of podcasts, and we always want to sort of give a shout out to growing up in Southern Indiana, you take care of the boys, right? So got a buddy Keegan who does the Framework of Tomorrow. And we've been mentioning this on our Xenogears podcast because it kind of relates. Keegan takes patterns and types and symbols that he sees in history, and he offers that to you, the listener, as a possible patchwork for what will happen tomorrow. It's very interesting. It is a much more intellectual podcast than this one because we pretend that we're spouting ideologies to you, but really
we're just kind of like jabbing our draws.
Exactly. The less Sight Nizuki, more Big Joe, I suppose.
Look, I'm gonna be flinging golf balls into the Ohio River later today.
Bow fishing, brother. We're going bow fishing. But so absolutely give Keegan a listen. That is a Framework of Tomorrow. And as always, please, if you want more of this, which we love to give you more, let us know that you're liking it with a like. Subscribe, click the bell. Your phone will tell you when there's more Donram to be had. And guys, mostly just share this out. Share this so we get to 1,000 likes. I will quit my gainful employment. I will march up to my wife and I will say, "Listen, lady, the people have spoken, and I need to play Xenosaga on a PlayStation 2 on a camera for people I've never met on the internet."
Adrian, I've got to do the podcast.
So, guys, please put the strain on my marriage, please. But yeah, share this out, please. Get the word out, because we want to reach more people. Even more important than growing as a podcast, we want the message of video games as the most important art form of the 20th or any other century to be out there. And stay safe, everyone.
Mm-hmm.